her best friend discusses the kinds of food controls that were put on everyone around her with
Uh-huh.
regards to what she could eat and what the rest of them could eat that wouldn't trigger her eating disorder.
Okay.
But this was from the team, and it was like this whole team of like nutritionists, wellness people, therapists that were like following her around on tour to make sure
Oh,
that she was well. Um, because it was like she couldn't slip back into that place. But it means that you're just being monitored all the time, and like your whole
100%.
it's not that's also not a healthy attitude for
No.
it. It's like
I think we'll get into this later, but from what I've seen, I don't think she responds well to like people taking stuff away from her
yeah.
completely. Because
Hmm.
she talks, I don't think it's helpful for her. That works for some, like going teetotal immediately with anything works for some people, but for
Yeah.
others, it just makes the desire to go back to it even more. So I don't know that that's helpful because it might have just made those urges a bit stronger. If everyone's telling you, no, you can't do that constantly, does it make the urge to do it stronger? I feel like it does for some
Absolutely.
people. Yeah.
And it was really sad. She says that she feels like more decisions have been made for her than she's ever made for herself in her whole life.
That's
And
really
she's
sad.
like 28. She's an
Do you know
adult.
what? This is the thing with these people. It always surprises me how like that they're younger than I expect, and not because of not she doesn't look older than 28, obviously, but it's the fact they've been around for so long
Yeah.
because they've all been like forced to be celebrities at such a young
As,
age
yeah,
that they
as
seem
children.
so old by the and they're still in their 20s, and you're just like,
Mm,
what? But you've been around like since I was a child, and
yeah.
you're only like
Not
six
even
years older
30.
than me. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
mad.
Um, and yeah, I think it's like all the pressure from her team was contributing to that desire to be like, oh, well, just fuck it. I don't want to
Yeah,
do this anymore. And it makes like the more impulse to just not crash and burn, but you
yeah,
know, to say, I don't want to do this anymore. Don't tell me what to do anymore.
yeah,
Everyone in her around her, like all her friends, had to be constantly drug tested. They had to be cautious what they ate in front of her. They had to be wary of what they had in the dressing rooms. Everyone had to stay completely sober to make sure that she stayed completely sober. So obviously, it was like the complete absence of it, but also placing this control on the people around you as well. It's not encouraging you to have
yeah.
a healthy relationship with being around it. It's like we
Exactly.
don't trust you enough.
And it's also like part of, I mean, I may be misunderstanding a bit, but I think like part of therapies and stuff like that is not to be like take away the thing that is causing you harm.
Mm.
It's to like give you the like way to deal with it. So
Yeah,
like yes, it's helpful having no one have alcohol near her, but that isn't going to be the case always. Like what if
no,
she's invited to a wedding or something? You can't say to everyone at the wedding, don't have alcohol there because it's just not going to happen. So
yeah,
she needs to have a way to be able to get to that wedding and be like, yes, I'm okay with the fact that people are having alcohol
yeah.
there. And they just didn't give, well, from what you've said, it seems like they didn't give her the opportunity to do that, to learn
No,
how to deal with that.
and it was all this thing of like she's 6 years sober. She's like they've reached all these milestones with her sobriety, and I think again that puts massive pressure on yourself
Yeah,
because it creates like this expectation that she needs to adhere to it. She needs to be perfect. And if she breaks her sobriety, then she's not worthless, but she's
yeah,
failed in some
yeah.
way. And I just think it's not the way that they should have
No.
gone through with her. And so the whole thing were like not wanted to trigger her with her eating disorder again. Even the drawings that they would do of her costumes were always
Yeah.
on like when you see like designer drawings and they're always on
Yeah.
these exaggerated, super
Yeah.
slim weird bodies.
Yeah.
She said even that was starting to make her feel bad about herself,
Mm.
and the toxic environment of the pressure from like the music industry about body image, which we've talked about a lot. Like it's
Yes.
like a running commentary now at this point.
Yeah.
So she says she started to relapse with the eating disorder. She was over exercising, extreme dieting, people watching her food intake, and she just snapped. And this was a kind of rebellion for 6 years. She'd had it drilled into her that she had to be sober and on top of her eating disorder and as a role model for young women everywhere.
Mm.
And that they would kept saying that if you relapse, you'll die. Like that's the
It's just not
message that was like,
helpful. Like, I feel like it's
no,
like parents with children, the parents who are like, you can't do absolutely anything to their
can't have sugar.
children.
Yeah,
You can't have sugar. You can't ever drink alcohol or you'll die. You can't do this or you'll die. Those are the children that like act out. Not
yeah,
always, but a lot of the time. And then the parents who like went to their children like, okay, if you do it, you know, I appreciate if you're open and honest about it,
yeah.
because
We want
I
you to be
think,
safe.
yeah, they're the people who probably are the most open and honest with people. I don't know. Not always the
Mm.
case, but that seems like what's happened here is they've been like, instead of being like, whatever you do, just be honest about it and talk
Yeah.
about it and we'll deal with it together. Instead of that, they've been like, yeah, if you make one wrong step, you'll die and everyone will leave you and everyone will hate you and they're not
Yeah.
helping.
And you'll have let down like your millions of young teenage
And
fans
you're a
who,
role model for them.
yeah. It's insane. It's way too much for anybody to even
Yeah.
begin. None of us will understand the kind of life she's lived.